The trade deadline is finally over, and today I'm going to be grading every team's MLB trade deadline and every trade that happened. I'm sorry it's a little bit late. It's coming out on a Thursday, not Wednesday, but we're kind of going with this Monday-Thursday thing for now. Anyway, make sure you follow me on all my socials. They're all linked in the description or on Twitter at Century17YT. Make sure you go check out all my podcasts as well. They are also linked in the description, the podcast and the MLB podcast, which is just the Century Baseball podcast. It has the videos in audio form and a couple bonus ones as well. Business inquiries, there's a business email always in the description as well as on the channel page. With that being said, I think it's time we go ahead and rank every trade. So looking here at the tier list, we have the elite, the very good trade deadlines, the okay, and then we have the not ideals and the inexcusable ones. So rather than grading every trade individually, I'm going to do every team's trade and their whole deadline as a whole as one grade, starting with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I thought theirs was okay because they did kind of a weird thing where they sold off Andrew Chafin. It was very strange. But, they brought in a guy like Tommy Pham to help out with kind of an already stacked position within their organization, so whatever. They had an okay trade deadline. They definitely could have done more. I think the Braves, they did what they had to, but overall just it was okay. Like, honestly, they did everything that they needed to. It's kind of confusing, I know. But it's like there wasn't much else they can do. They're already loaded. They've shored up the spots they needed to. Maybe they probably could have gotten a starting pitcher. That's the thing they were missing. They had an okay deadline. I think the Orioles were very good. They addressed their need. Really, the only thing they did was brought in Jack Flaherty, but it was their biggest need, and quite honestly, I think that's going to do it. The Red Sox did not have an ideal deadline because I think that they should have shipped off some pieces. Now, not all the pieces that are going to help you completely win a championship, but I think Adam Duvall definitely should have been expended. They showed that they can already win when he's not in the lineup because he has been injured and he's on an expiring contract. That would have been a no-brainer. Go out and get a pitcher for Adam Duvall. That would have made a lot of sense. Overall, they brought in some minor pieces and they didn't ship off some pieces like James Paxton. Very interesting from the Red Sox. Cubs, I think in just a standpoint of they didn't sell off everybody. They had a very good deadline for the fans. Now, for everybody else, not ideal at all. However, they got probably the best bat at the deadline in Jeimer Candelario, and they shored up a spot. I know it's going to be really weird to say this, but the White Sox had arguably an elite deadline for where they were. Elite are very good. They shipped off 6 pitchers, a couple other players, and brought in some prospects, man. That's what they needed to do. They did everything they were supposed to, except maybe... Honestly, keeping Dylan Cease was probably the smart move. It's just everybody wanted him to get traded. Eloy probably could have been moved, but they got a young core. They want to keep them together. Reds, man, that was inexcusable. You have pieces. You had the things to go out and buy and put yourself over the top, and you did nothing. You brought in Sam Moll. That was very disappointing. The Guardians, I don't think they had an ideal trade deadline. They are obviously not trying to contend. Traded away Bell. They brought in Khalil Watson. That was actually good. Okay, I changed my mind. They're going to okay. Khalil Watson was a very good prospect for all my card collectors out there. He was like one of the big names in 2022 Bowman. Trade away Josh Bell. Trade away Ahmed Rosario. They brought in Syndergaard. That was a weird one. I don't know. It was okay. Rockies, again, it was okay. They shipped out pieces they probably should have, but they didn't bring back anything special is the only problem. Grichuk and Crone being shipped makes sense. Not trading McMahon also makes sense for that. The Tigers did legitimately everything that I wanted them to. I'm going to put them in very good. I said don't trade Erod, and they actually did, but he did not want to leave. They traded Lorenzen to the Phillies, who's actually starting right now. I'm watching it. And really, that's about it. It's really the only piece that they really traded. They brought in a pretty good prospect for him, too, Lee. It was a very good deadline, despite only giving away one piece and keeping another. Houston kind of just propelled themselves back into, like, World Series favorite. Bringing in Verlander and getting... I know that they gave up a lot for him, but also getting his contract paid for that is a huge component. Sure, they gave up some pretty good prospects, but actually a top 50 guy and then, like, a very young guy who's got upside. But getting the contract paid for the most part and then getting him for another year and a half, that's pretty good. Royals did not really do a whole lot. I'm going to put him in okay just because they didn't really trade anybody. Chapman was a while ago. Scott Barlow did get shipped off to the Padres. Good return, but it just kind of mid. I don't know. Angels had an elite deadline. They brought in all the pieces they really needed to. Trying to keep Shohei around, it's probably what they needed to do to have any chance at it. Artie Moreno made the right choice, that's for sure. The Dodgers, it was very good. It was not elite. I think they could have brought in more of a bigger piece into their rotation. They obviously tried for Erod. They had it, but he just said no. So they did mostly what they could. They brought in Lance Lynn, obviously, and Joe Kelly was actually a pretty nice piece. For the most part, they had a pretty good deadline. Marlins are almost elite, I think, but I'm going to put them in very good. They brought in bats and they got rid of some pitching. They actually brought in Ryan Weathers. They traded away Garrett Cooper, which went way under the radar for me. But yeah, Ryan Weathers was traded in. Sean Reynolds and Garrett Cooper were traded out. The Josh Bell thing at the end, that was kind of crazy. Shipped out Gene Segura. That was a weakness. They got rid of two problems in their organization for Josh Bell. Khalil Watson, who's been having some off-the-field problems, and Gene Segura, who's just not been good. Brought in Josh Bell, and he went off last night. The Brewers did not have an ideal deadline. They got Carlos Santana, and they got Canna. I'm gonna put them in okay. They brought in a couple bats, but no one's super impactful. I know this is also gonna be weird. I think the Mets had an elite deadline. As much as I hate to say it, they got a lot of really good prospects for really expensive. Like, it pretty much was just Steve Cohen buying prospects. They're like, oh, you want my money and this player? Give us your prospects. Acuna, that's like a that's big time. Acuna and then the two guys from Houston, that's big. A couple other minor guys for like Pham and Kana and stuff like that. And they actually brought in a couple innings eaters for like this year and next year too, so it's pretty good. The Yankees was inexcusable. If you weren't gonna sell, you needed to buy, and you did pretty much nothing. You brought in a reliever. Keenan Middleton. That's all you did. I'm sorry, it looked like Kenyon, but it's Kanan, it looks like. The A's also kind of weirdly enough, inexcusable. Did they do a thing? They did not trade away Rooker, Seth Brown, or like anybody. Very, very confusing. The Phillies had an okay deadline. They filled a hole. They did not fill the hole. The hole would be a left fielder, right-handed, some kind of power bat. But they decided to get Michael Lorenzen instead and ride a six-man rotation. Okay. Rodolfo Castro is actually a pretty nice move, but they needed a left fielder. Pirates had an okay deadline. They shipped out a lot of their pieces. Not all the pieces they could have, but they shipped out a lot of pieces. Keller stayed. Yeah, there's definitely more pieces to get rid of, but they kept some, and they did get rid of guys like Choi and Hill and Santana. So good on them. Dude, I know that the Padres like brought in some pieces, but dude, like that was so awful. That's literally just them trying to sip some copium. Like, I'm sorry, they're not making the playoffs now, and they decided to buy anyway. That's just them, and the Mets did the opposite thing. The Mets realized they were wrong and they did the smart thing. The Padres did the dumb thing. Also for the Mariners, it was a very confusing deadline because why did they like half sell off pieces? It was weird. They're like, yeah, we still want to contend, but we're gonna sell off a bunch of pretty impactful pieces. DFA'd Wong as well. Just kind of clearing house. It's almost like they're kind of punting on this year. Giants also did not have an ideal deadline. They didn't go out and get the pieces they should have. Actually, I don't know if they did anything yesterday. They brought in AJ Pollock and Mark Mathias, so they brought in somebody, but like they didn't really do a whole lot. That was it. Like that, they needed another pitcher, I think, but they decided not to. Cardinals had a very good and darn near elite deadline. They did not get rid of the pieces. It was like a retool. It's like they knew what they were doing. Go figure. Didn't ship out Arenado, didn't ship out Goldschmidt, didn't actually get rid of any of the young outfielders, which now that I think about it is like fine. But the pieces they did trade away and the pieces they got back, it was very good. Got rid of some salary as well, so can save up some money maybe for free agency to go out and get, I don't know, like a bona fide starter. It's the first time the Rays had just like an okay deadline. They didn't really bring in anybody. They were in on a lot of people, but they didn't really finish on anybody. They got some money and they got Adrian Simpson. That's about it. The Rangers are the last team that had an elite deadline. I said they needed to go out and get a pitcher, and I put Trevor Williams up there, but they said no siree. They said Jordan Montgomery and Max Scherzer. Now they've got like 9 bona fide starting pitchers in their rotation, but they're going to only use like 5. And a couple of them are injured, I know, but like still. Does not excuse the fact how loaded their pitching is. And besides the fact they have like the best offense in baseball. That was inexcusable from the Twins as well. You had a couple holes you needed to fill. A right-handed bat was one of them, and maybe like bullpen pieces. But you didn't do anything. Like literally did nothing. I think the Blue Jays were fine. It wasn't anything special. They traded with the Cardinals 3 times, right? It wasn't that weird. It was like Genesis Cabrera or Genesis, whatever. Jordan Hicks and then Paul DeYoung, right? So they had 3 separate trades with the Cardinals. I'm actually going to put it in very good. They shored up some holes as well. Very bottom of very good. Last but not least, the Nats didn't. They traded away Candelario and they got like a not great prospect. I'll put it in okay. Candelario was like the biggest no-brainer of who was going to get dealt, though, so it's whatever. That's the list. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy the video, remember to leave a like as well as subscribe. You can go join my Patreon if you are interested in supporting me. It's down in the description below. I truly would appreciate it. Also, click the little join button to join the channel. You get exclusive perks and stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Go Phils.